Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, recently, I was working with an author on a new book, and one of the issues that came up during our discussions and my review was the book title. Now, the book was on more of a techie kind of subject. And the author had chosen what I would call a more branded title. And, as we were working up to starting the project, it was kind of difficult to figure out exactly what this book was about. And of course, because I'm familiar with the realm that he was working in, but I'm not in it. And so it was really kind of difficult to figure out from the title exactly what this was going to talk about. But then, later in the manuscript, as he was, talking about it, he had like an alternate title, which was extremely descriptive. And I said, that's it. That's the title. That tells me exactly what the book is all about. And so the question came up about a branded title versus a descriptive title. Now, this is primarily for nonfiction. Fiction, you can do whatever you want. Because those are flights of fancy often, and so that's not what we're talking about here. We're really talking about nonfiction, because when people are reading nonfiction generally, and if they're talking about business or just any really nonfiction topic, they're going there to get some information or get some insight, and so they have a very definite goal for reading the book. So that leads us to more of a need for a descriptive title. Yet we've all encountered books that in the nonfiction arena that have more what I would call branded titles that are iconic. Let's review a couple of them. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Chicken Soup for the Soul, 7 Habits of Highly Successful whatever, the 1-Minute Manager, and the E-Myth. Think about those books. I mean, we have those titles stuck in our head, and they're more branded. They don't really tell you what's in the book, but they're branded, and they've built empires around them. And so there is some validity for creating a more branded title. But at the same point, it's not real descriptive. And so it would be harder for people to find. So with a branded title, you really, really have to do a lot of marketing. And even though the branded title is part of your brand, you have to inform people what this brand is all about. And so from a pure budgeting and planning perspective, a branded title will take more resources, and it will take more time, more than likely, to get any traction in the market. I have had that problem. And I had that problem with my first book because I titled it Swag. Now, swag is a slang term, and it stands for stuff we all get, or souvenirs, wearables, and gifts. There's a couple of different ways to describe it, but generally it means promotional products. So I thought, oh, that is going to be the coolest title, and it has worked well for me. But I don't think if I wouldn't have put the subtitle about how to choose and use promotional products for marketing your business, no one would have really understood it. I mean, did they think I was talking about swagger or, some other kind of topic? No one would have even known what it was about. And so, it took a while for me too to get some traction in the market. It's still selling well several years later. Wow, I think at this point, maybe 9 years, getting close to a decade ago. So it's done pretty well for me. But at the same point, I had to do a lot more descriptive work in terms of my marketing to get that traction. So I think you have to decide, what your market really needs. So with this author I was working with, I think the more descriptive title was the one to choose. And of course, my authors who work with me can do whatever they want. But I really suggested to highly consider the descriptive title, because otherwise you probably wouldn't have known what the book was all about. In fact, as I was just starting to work with the author, I thought it was a completely different industry. So this again, it goes back to things I harp on all the time. You have to know your audience, and you have to know what they want, and you have to be very realistic and understand your market and what it's going to take to get your book to be a success in the market. So I hope you found this helpful as you are considering maybe one of your next nonfiction book projects. And if you have found it helpful, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or Podbean. If you like the video version better, simply subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you get an alert when a new video is available. And please share the podcast or the video with your friends on social media. My self-published books are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is just go to my Heidi Thorne author page, and all the books that are available on those sites are listed there. If you'd like to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.